Hi, I'm Paul Keoghan from GK Tuition, and in this video I want to talk to you about algebra. Now the question I've chosen to go through here is 2017 paper 1 question 3. In the first part of this question we're given the quadratic equation 3x squared minus 6x minus 8 equals 0. We're asked to solve the quadratic or find the values for which it's equal to 0, which means solve the quadratic and leave your answer to one decimal place. Now you should realise that whenever you've been given a quadratic and it asks you to leave it to one decimal place, or it asks you to leave it to surd form or any obscure form like that, that's an indication that you should use your minus b formula. The minus b formula is available in your maths tables. It's x is equal to minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, where a is the number in front of x squared, in this case 3. B is the number in front of the x, in this case minus 6, and c is the constant on its own at the end, in this case minus 8. So you'll notice the first thing you should always do, write out your formula, write out a, b and c, and then just sub in. So instead of b I put in minus 6 in each case, instead of a I put in 3 in each case, and instead of c I put in a minus 8. Now, so all I did there was sub everything in. Now minus multiplied by minus gives you plus 6, 2 multiplied by 3 gives you 6. And what you should do is multiply all the numbers in the brackets. Multiply all the numbers, in the square root. Don't actually put in the square root, just the numbers. Literally you type in bracket minus 6, bracket squared, minus 4, brackets 3, brackets minus 8. And if you plug that in with the brackets exactly where I have them, you should get 132. So now this is a lot neater. You have 6 plus or minus root 132 over 6. Now remember that whenever you solve a quadratic you get two different answers. So in order to get my two different answers, in one scenario I take the plus and in the other scenario I take the minus. If you were to take the plus, you get 6 plus root 132 over 6. You plug all that into your calculator. To one decimal place your answer is 2.9. The other scenario is you have 6 minus root 132 over 6. You plug all that into your calculator and you get minus 0.9. So there are your two values for x when you solve this quadratic. Okay, in the second part of this question, we're asked to find the coordinates of the minimum point of the function. Now you need to recognize that you've got plus 3x squared minus 6x minus 8. That's a plus x squared, so it forms a U shape or a smiley face. We're looking for the minimum point. So we're looking for the turning point of the function. In order to find the minimum point or the turning point, that means you have to differentiate. If we differentiate and let it equal to 0, that will allow us to identify where the turning point is. So the first thing we need to do here, if we know f of x, we need to find f dash x. So we need to differentiate this. If you have plus 3x squared, in order to differentiate, you bring the power of x in front and then the power of x decreases by 1. So the 2 comes in front, 2 multiplied by 3 is 6. And it was an x to the power of 2, so it will now be an x to the power of 1. We do the same thing here. This is minus 6x to the power of 1. So the 1 comes in front, and you get minus 6 times 1 is just minus 6. And then it becomes, the power of x decreases by 1, so it becomes x to the power of 0. Or in other words, an x to the power of 0, we can just ignore it. So the derivative of minus 6x is just minus 6. And then this one doesn't have an x at all, so the derivative of minus 8 is just 0. So the first derivative is 6x minus 6. And in order to identify where the turning point exists, we need to let the first derivative equal to 0. So I can just say that 6x minus 6 is equal to 0. If I wanted to isolate my x here, I need to add 6 to both sides. So I can say that 6x is equal to plus 6. If 6x equals plus 6, and I want to get x on its own, I need to divide both sides by 6. So x would be 6 divided by 6, or in other words, x is equal to 1. So now you know that the turning point, or in this case the minimum point, exists when x is equal to 1. However, that's not sufficient, because they've asked you to find the point. And in order to find the point, you need the x value and the y value. So I need to find the corresponding y value. What is the y value when x equals 1? And in order to find that, we need to look back at the original equation. The original equation was f of x equals 3x squared minus 6x minus 8. when you're dealing with functions, you're allowed to view the f of x as if it's a y. So we could view this as y equals 3x squared minus 6x minus 8. I need to work out what the value of y is when x is equal to 1. So that means I'm just going to sub into this. Everywhere there's an x, I'm going to sub in a 1 and work out what is the corresponding value of y. So if I just rewrite this equation, it's y would be equal to 3 times, and I'm subbing in my x value. So it's 3 times 1 squared minus 6 times 1 minus 8. So this simplifies nicely enough. 1 squared is just 1, so this will just be 3 times 1. And then minus 6 by 1 is just minus 6, and that's a minus 8. Which means if I simplify further, 3 multiplied by 1 is just 3. Minus 6 minus 8 is minus 14. So that means your y value is 3 minus 14, which works out as minus 11. So let's just figure out what we've done so far. We differentiated and let the derivative equal to 0, and we worked out that a turning point exists when x equals 1. We subbed the x equals 1 into the original equation and found the corresponding value of y. So I can now say that the coordinates of the turning point are 1 minus 11. The x value is 1, the y value is minus 11. So your final answer needs to be written in that form, in the form of a point. So I hope all of this makes sense. If there's anything you're unsure of there, or you'd like me to explain something differently, just let me know in class or send me an email and I'll try and go through it with you.